So, drink ready, and we are also ready for the first game of TheMista on the new Voobly ladder, and it's going to be against Magic, so we are in for quite a ride in here. And also the gods are very interesting indeed. So TheMista is playing Odin, which is definitely his favorite, as you can know, and Magic is playing Zeus yet again. Well, we have seen in the last game that it didn't really go all that well for him, so I'm kinda curious if he's going to go for Athena Rush yet again. To be honest, against Odin it should be slightly easier. Against Thor it can sometimes prove tricky. It's usually the worst against Loki because of all the mythic units and whatnot. But against Odin, who is usually very heavy on Radiant and whatnot, it should be reasonably easy to handle him with hoplites. But yeah, let's not be too hasty because we are playing on raises, which means well, kind of limited options on the hunt usually. Alright then, so let's head on into the game. First we have a look at this. Right now going to be Magic on the left side of the map, and it seems like that he's also having a pretty good defensive position with the line of forest at the very top. Yeah, right now it's right next to the wall, not like last game. For Shelty, but he's also having zebras behind. Oh well, yeah. You can see that's kind of sucky for him. He's not seeing any hunt in here. So that's unlucky spawn. I'm reasonably sure it's moved because of this forest. The forest actually spawned first, and it basically forced the hunt, the zebras at the back. But you can already see that Magic is actually recognizing that it's exactly in that spot because he has scouted at the bottom. He sees extra chickens in here, and this is pretty bad news for him because this is going to slow him down, and that's not ideal at all, but at the same time, he has just now discovered that giraffes are here as well, so this is definitely the point where he'll want to defend and actually somehow control for the majority of the game. Otherwise, first relic, for better cavalry, well, hit points. He definitely needs to capture this, because this mustn't fall for TheMista as an Odin, because that would be absolutely terrible to have raiding cavalry with 10% extra hit points. That would be quite deadly and even tough for hoplites. So yep, he needs to be very careful. And let's have a look how it's looking. How's it looking for TheMista so far? He's also just about now being scouted by Magic. Let's switch into TheMista then. With Fog of War, he's scouting with double Ulfsarks, as you can see. With one Screen and Ulfsark rather. And he's also knowing about a relic at the bottom, which is for better hero damage versus myth units. Huh, that's not bad. That's actually pretty useful for both of these players in here. I would be slightly more favoring it for the Zeus, because he is going to be using Odysseus and Jason, but at the same time, he will need to get rid of potentially Valkyries or whatnot that TheMista might be making. And will, yeah. Actually, can he make Valkyries? I'm not exactly sure what his second god is. Right about now, so let's just make sure. And yeah, he can make Valkyries, I remembered right. He is cavalry heavy, so of course he does have Valkyries as well. Otherwise, he has discovered something interesting, just hunt on the left, so it seems like that the situation was absolutely the same for TheMista as for Magic, so there's not any kind of disadvantage for either of them. And otherwise, yet again, not much stuff happening in here. Very far away giraffes for him. Are they actually his giraffes? Not all that sure that they are, but they seem to be, because there's nothing on the left. It's a solitary monkey with a few berries, and these are definitely TheMista's, and they are very far away, so this is much better position for Magic in that it should be easier defensible for him, but at the same time, yeah, it's still quite open from the right side and tough to wall because of the town center in here. So yeah, I'm not really expecting this to go all that well for Magic, and I'm thinking that TheMista will raid the hell out of him, and let's see if that's exactly what's going to happen. In the middle, just one gold mine guarded by the monkey. And some hyenas, of course, from both sides. That's not going to be really important in the game at all. Whereas on the left, the gold for TheMista is very crucial and seems to be reasonably defensible. Looking at the wall here, and here, and here, and it's basically his. The quarter of the map at the bottom. That's reasonably easy to get rid of the town center, so I'm fully expecting him that he will want to go to the left side rather than the right, because there's just one gold mine in here. But looking at the hunt in here, tough choice. Really tough choice for him, and I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. Right now, though, he has discovered where Magic is, so he's knowing exactly where to go, and that's also very important, because if we switch on Fog of War, He doesn't know about anything on the left, but he's probably expecting, looking at his own map, that he's not going to be having an extra hunt magic somewhere else. So he basically knows that magic will be with everything in here and will be defending with absolutely all that he can get. A ton of goats from TheMista, of course. And he hasn't even cast Great Hunt, so is he going to be casting here? Yeah, I would bet so, of course. So a lot of goats, even more goats right about now. Wow, 22 goats. That would be kind of interesting if he actually went for a husbandry. But I'm not thinking that he will be actually going for that, because it's a lot of resources at this early stage, especially when he's advancing for like 440. And yeah, he's probably not hoping, or rather not thinking, that the game is going to take all that long. So right now, Magic is not going for Athena Rush against TheMista. He's going for Hermes right now, so that's going to be a bit of a raid-in with Centaurs or not. 5 on wood, that's normal. It's not really anything extra special. He has nobody on Valor or rather Favor, but he seems to be moving with those two, and I would be guessing that they might be going for it. One is or isn't. Going somewhere to the left, for the gold. So that's going to be something standard and not anything Centaur, so probably just some Hippicon raiding. Pretty good job right now though from TheMista, trying to wall him at the top. Wall himself at the very top. As this is a very important point for him, and if he can defend this for at least a bit longer before any reinforcements from Magic arrive, this would really do wonders for him, as he needs to gather as many resources from those giraffes as he can, as he is not having any extra hunt at all. Only food source left is going to be a ton of goats with husbandry. So yeah, finally, TheMista did go for it. It was kind of a very interesting option to go for him, and he didn't really pass it up. So yep, quite nicely played, and it's going to be a ton of food for him. A ton of food overall. Yep, controlled by the Raven, this spot. And yeah, this is basically just accentuating the importance of this position, because exactly as TheMista need to protect this hunt, right now he's giving up because of the Centaur. Magic needs to protect his hunt as well. It's still 200 sources, as he cannot really afford to waste anything at all. Otherwise, not much in here, just to go to the top. He will be having chickens in his base for the next game, but this is very nicely played by TheMista. Full on control of what Magic is doing. He will know exactly when the villagers are leaving and when some kind of army is going somewhere else. So it seems like that Magic is right now moving into offensive, and it's kind of curious that he's leading by 200 points actually. Let me scroll a bit. You can see he's leading by almost 200 points. That's a lot, to be honest, and a bit unexpected. But let's wait for what's going to happen in here, because TheMista is actually not going all that aggressively about it. He's not even interested in raiding. He's just going for a bit of economy. He has even research towers, and he's fully expecting that actually Magic will be attacking him. That's actually exactly opposite of what I would be expecting. That's kind of interesting to see in here. And I just wanted to go back to this wall in. And you might see that it's kind of a mistake that he didn't finish with the wall, but no, it's very deliberate, and it's basically just funneling the units of his opponent all along those walls to one spot in here, which is between those two towers. Both of those towers will be shooting around here, especially with the trees standing very nicely in here, and that's of course going to be leading exactly next to the TC, so yet another source of fire. And with throwing axemen in there, well, good luck surviving with this Magic's army. So very nicely positioned walls, and this is something that you should be taking a good note of and learn from. Second TC finished from Magic. So Magic is going for something fairly standard. He was probably, I think, expecting that TheMista would be aggressive, but he isn't. So he is right now just not giving it his all. You can see auto queue from just one military academy, and he will just raiding a bit around and potentially attacking his opponent's base, but probably not, as I don't think that would be a good idea. He isn't really prepared for that. So right now it's going to be a bit of a boom war, and finally a bit of a raiding in here. So forest fire on TheMista. Right about now, it's... Well, I'm not exactly sure if it's the best spot or if this one is better. Kinda torn on that. Because this is a forest fire here will make it literally impossible for Magic to wall, and potentially it will be just a freeway into the opponent's base. But casting forest fire in here is going to be make life very difficult for Magic as well. So yeah, here it is. Oh, yeah, that's tough deal. That's tough deal, but actually not all that much because as you can see, forest fire is not damaging friendly fire or other friendly units, which meant that all those hoplites that were actually cornering or attempting to corner those two raiding cavalry died to the forest fire, whereas those guys were immune and they didn't. So that was yet again very nice little play in here. And TheMista is definitely showing his class in all those things like the wall and this one display as well. There was also a bit of raiding going on a bit earlier by TheMista on Magic, whereas right now it's going to be pretty much put an end, as it seems like that those two heroes with Centaur and a few hoplites is going to be more than enough for Magic to deal with TheMista, but at the same time, maybe TheMista saw that actually Magic is going for 30C. Let's check. Yeah, he saw it. So he knows that he needs to do something soon, reasonably soon, because if he doesn't, it's going to be in a very tough situation, and right now he is going through Njord, and maybe we are nearing a situation or other moment where TheMista will make a strong claim on Magic's base. You can see that the score has pretty much evened up. It was 200 in favor of Magic just a few minutes earlier, but right now it's just basically even. And TheMista is right now winning at this point, and that's just saying, rather telling you that TheMista definitely knew what he was doing, taking it slowly, and he is reaping the benefits just about now. I'm kind of guessing that it could be in economy advantage. You can see Hendak's pickaxe for the Zeus player, whereas TheMista, as the Odin, is having absolutely nothing. That's curious to me. That's slightly curious to me. I would be expecting some kind of upgrades from him, especially looking at the economy himself. Rather itself, but he's maybe just waiting for some upgrades for his army, or potentially even extra TC. I'm not exactly sure what his plan right now could be. As pickaxe is just about now research, finally, as we are talking about it, and Hillfort, that's what he needed the gold for, and this is exactly what is happening just about now. So yep, it's going to be a pretty nice surprise with Jarls I would be expecting from the Hillfort, and very close to his opponent's base, and this wall is definitely not going to be finished, and Magic will have to be careful, because the attack will be going on quite strongly from the right side very soon. In the meantime though, walking palms are going to be making life very difficult for Magic, as they are yet again making, or rather made useful in the Voobly balance patch, as TheMista can now control them, and well, they are definitely doing their job. But with the heroes present in here, with Odysseus and Jason, of course also Centaur, who is having pretty good attack against myth units, it should be dealt with reasonably soon. Yeah, they are still pretty tanky, but it's not going to be enough. At the same time though, TheMista went for an attack from the right side. Basically a pretty nice concentrated attack from those sides. But it doesn't seem that it is going to be yielding anything. And you can see that it's not Jarls, but Huskarls. So basically just some kind of army to both revive the town center fire and also the Toxots at the same time. So nice reaction from TheMista, as that's what you usually want to do. Building military buildings on the battlefield as the Norse during a ceasefire. And even though Magic is trying to do the same, I'm thinking that it's not going to be all that strong. Because with the extra walking palms in here, it's going to be a pretty strong army for TheMista. So let's see. Looking at the upgrades, we have mediums at least for the throwing axemen and Huskarls, of course, whereas Magic is having just normal hoplites and normal Toxots. So let's switch. Also, he was housed at TheMista, whereas Magic is also housed, but without two houses, I'm not exactly sure if he knows. Yeah, right now he recognizes, so that's a desperate one. That's a desperate building of houses. Pretty sucky for him. Oh well, actually even forgot that he's actually at 3TC, so he was absolutely terribly housed. That's very bad housing problem for Magic. And that could be exactly what loses him the battle in here. Well. Bolt has already been used, so he cannot bolt the mountain giant. But Odysseus will be more than enough to deal with the mountain giant if even Jason can get a shot in here. But probably not. And this is going to be a very close battle indeed in here. Oh well, it won't. The TC should be coming down right now because all the units from Magic has been killed, or they have been killed, whereas TheMista is still having right now a siege weapon basically in Mountain Giant, but with the Odysseus in, it's not going to last all that long, but with all the army that TheMista is right now having, yeah, this TC is pretty much toast. We'll have to move somewhere back, but it's going to be pretty tough for Magic, because he's having all military buildings exactly at this spot, and if he loses his town center, which he does, well, it might be a bit of a lack of forethought on his side. He maybe should have built those buildings somewhere a bit close by to his home base, because he could have guessed the situation is not going to go all that well for him. And well, this is a very nice deal in here. Yeah, not even Odysseus is strong enough to deal with all those medium throwing axemen. So nice situation in here with Market from TheMista, so that basically signals that he's probably advancing into the next age soon, which he definitely is. And he's going through there. Through there, still having quite a decent amount of goats. Right now with 300 food. That's the most you can actually get. And 16 dwarves rather gathering from them. So yeah, he doesn't need any extra food source. He doesn't need farms for the most of the game, as he is having quite a lot of goats through the Great Hunt. So situation getting pretty dire for Magic right about now, as he's dropped to 2 TCs with well, come on, one more shot. What? What? TheMista? Come on, one shot? What the hell happened? Oh, it seems like a bit of a mercy from TheMista on Magic's part, or rather Magic's account, as he's moving back right now, just trying to get rid of all the buildings in here, and also doing pretty fun stuff on the left with the longhouse, and especially the wall, as he's basically trying to contain his opponent at just the one part of the map, and it's not going to be successful because his Magic is already below, or rather behind this quota on the gold mine in here. But yeah, it's not going to matter all that much, because on the right side, TheMista is basically owning it all with the second TC, which is front of his opponent, and he will be moving quite strongly into his opponent's base, especially with the Wolfies from the tier coming very soon. Yeah, that's a bit of a raiding party from Magic being caught up with. Heavy infantry and copper mail being researched, all the research shits for TheMista. And all the army also moving at the bottom, and yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for Magic to deal with and do anything about at all. So, Wolfies and the winter coming into Oasis as well. It's a bit of a snow on the sands in here, and with the army arriving exactly the right moment, I'm thinking not even the towers are going to be enough to deal with this. Yeah, correct army, the dog swords against the throwing axemen, but without upgrades, having just normal dog swords against heavy throwing axemen with upgrades, copper mail, copper shields. That's not going to work out. That's not going to work out at all. Wolfies at the top, at the bottom, and yeah. A situation, and basically just containing Magic at his home base, and it's kind of inevitable. And yeah, this is exactly the point where Magic sees that this game is not salvageable anymore, especially when his classical age and his opponent is mythic just now. Interesting game indeed, really. That was quite fun to watch, especially from TheMista's point of view, because he was slowly controlling the game. Could be saying, or rather thinking, that he was kinda passive at the very start for an Odin and Norse overall, but he definitely knew what he was doing. He went for a better economy and overall better controlled map, and he was potentially thinking that Magic will be the one that will be aggressive in this matchup, but that wasn't happening, and he just made use of that, and then he was like an unstoppable tide, and just at the very end of the game, gathering from the giraffes that he had to leave at the very start of the game. Oh, nice control, so let's have a look at the post game. With TheMista having double score at the very end, even though he was losing by like 200 at about 7 minutes or something like that. It's a huge amount. That was like by a half or a third or something like that. Wow, do you see this difference units killed? 86 for TheMista, 23 for Magic. Well, that wasn't a good game for Magic. Even though he was having more military units. Just unfortunately wasn't taking the correct battles, and he didn't have much of a choice, to be honest, because TheMista was the one who was dictating the battles. But well, that happened. Yet again, kinda slowish advance from Magic, the same as in the last game against Shelty. But very nicely played. Wow, these are pretty good advances actually from TheMista. 10 minutes into Heroic, taking 15. It's really not half bad. Especially considering that he didn't have economy upgrades prior to actually after Heroic, I think. He only after Heroic he made the hand axe and pickaxe. Or even just maybe pickaxe. Let's have a look.
Tilbuin?
Yeah, he had both in the
Tilbuin?
end then. But up until Heroic, I think he didn't have either, because we were looking and he didn't have that. So that's even more wonder how he was going to, or rather how he was able to do so well with the advances and controlling Magic. Nicely played. Even though Magic boomed nicely through the 3 TCs, yeah, it just wasn't something that would win him the game. Whereas the military was just miles better by TheMista. He was controlling it from this stage quite comfortably. Alright then, GG, and congrats TheMista on the win in your first game on the new ladder.